Good day everyone and welcome to another vlog for the Exodus 7 to 12 KJV project. So what you're seeing right now is the fields with quite a few changes. Primarily what I did this week was I reduced the amount of buildings because they were really on top of each other. I also fixed the building materials because they didn't receive transparent shadows. I also struggled with the fields themselves, the wheat, because of issues like this over here, which I saw came into the final render, which I'm going to be showing you guys also. I also worked with this area over here because in my research I found that the the fields were not at water level. So what they did was, close to the fields, like right next to the water where the banks are, they put little lifts with baskets, little booms with baskets, that they could take water from the Nile and pass it up periodically until they get to like a smaller well at the top. It's a very cool idea. Now, I don't know how many they had at the most next to a bank, but considering the amount of flooding they would get annually, I think that they put up as many as they needed, which could be anything above one, as far as I understand. I know that in the references I saw, they only had two, but I don't think the image was quite to scale. However, I don't know if they ever had situations where they had more than two. But in this case, they will be more than two. Also, of course, I worked on this little well over here, which is quite a simple thing. Didn't take me very long to work on that. And I rendered a flyover all the way over here to the little city town situation. So that is what I'm going to be showing you right now. Okay, so here we are at the video. You can see there's the well, there are the people, there is, or whatever. There we have the people, haha. Getting around the grammar. And of course here is the, here we have the ledges. Whew, goodness. I see that there is a little issue with the top one where I didn't do this whole soil area over here, so I definitely need to get back to checking that. But there are a few other changes as well, which you will see as we go along with this video. Okay, so the primary thing I want to change is with the waves in the fields, I want them to change more. Need to make it move along the z-axis more. And of course I need to fix these little dips as well. So after that is done, I can actually use this as an establishing shot for the location of the fields right when the hail is starting to come down, because the wheat was grown, but other stuff was not. I think the barley wasn't. I think the barley was also struck. I have to go read it again and script it out and all that kind of stuff. This was almost like an experimental type render. It almost took 20 hours, roughly. So I just need to fix this and that over there, and of course adjust the empty. But with the rest, I'm super happy with it. Except for that, I think I need to check that out as well. I might actually leave the whole empty alone because I kind of like the unison as it moves slightly off to the left. Look at that. Yeah, I just think I need to just check it frame by frame and make sure that there are no dips like this or like that. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to change that empty. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the well. Okay, as you can see, this is the very simple setup. The only thing that added a little bit more detail was for the well itself, I added a little bit of a beveled edge, but you can also still tell from the video that we just watched that it's also a very low resolution well. I didn't even make the water transparent. I just made it like a mirror surface that's slightly blue, as you can see over here. And also, for those of you who don't know this, you don't have to have physical detail in order to get these kinds of distortion for water. You just need like a cloud texture and use normal influence and literally take it through the surface to get these distortions. It's a very, very, very cool way of adding detail without adding physical detail to your objects. Extremely effective. Okay. And also, you remember last week we talked about this little ox sled instead of an ox cart. So I got to work on this one this week as well. This one was primarily getting the compositing right, because I mean that's just a viewport render. This is compositing. Also worked a little bit on the materials and the bulls there. I changed them to black because you don't see many pure black cows, but you do see black bulls. So I went for black instead, just to distinguish them from the other livestock. I also shortened the curve of the sleds themselves, the tracks, whatever you want to call them. And of course I added some round cubes to these little joints over here to suggest rope. Adding that much detail for an extra object that you're just going to see in passing is really not necessary. And this grass was just to make the render look cool. And of course I adjusted the eyes a little bit to just have a little bit of a brown line. And I don't know if I showed that I added the ring to the nose as well. So that's also cool. Moving on. So what you see here is one of the shadows put up in a different layer. I just moved one of the one that's actually closest to the Nile. I moved to this little layer over here. I think it's alone. Yeah, it's pretty much alone. There's only a sun and a camera. This is like the modeling layer that I use. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when it moves. It's like a counterweight method of getting water. I have to say they were really helped to get stuff done in a manner that absolutely baffles a lot of engineers these days. Okay, so how this was rigged is quite simple. This rope is vertex parented to the tip of the crane. Of course, the bowl is parented to the rope so that it'll always be level, and I can also animate this one, of course, to swivel. And the pole, or the boom, is parented to this crossbar so that you only have to animate the boom on one axis, which is the y-axis in this case. And of course, this rotation is parented to the main support system. So you get, let's just see it in the hierarchy. Yeah, you get a parent on a parent on a parent on a parent. So this is really just a quick animation of how this thing works. So this is just a really quick example. And not the best example. Okay, anyway, what else was done is the landscape that you see is also scrunched up in here so that we could actually have these little terraces for the shadoofs to be able to stand on. It was way too sloped. You couldn't get these to actually hand off to each other. So what I had to do is I had to push this in, but this represented another problem, and I'm going to show you that in Gimp. And in order to have our characters have an edge line, we need to not place them directly onto this surface, but duplicate the surface and put it onto another layer. Now the problem is let's say we adjust the layer with the palm trees and the buildings and all that kind of stuff. That means that let's say we want the palm tree to be a lot lower. Let's say this is the slope. So what happens is the slope starts coming down here and goes all the way down there, and let's say this is the water line. So what happens now is if there was a character standing over here before we made the adjustment and duplicated the landscape. So this little floating character problem does have a solution. In Blender, there's a little magnet tool. There it is. It's called, I think it's called the snapping tool. Yeah, snap during transformation. Now what I did was I used it especially in this area over here where the characters are supposed to be standing. What happened was they floated because of this little problem over here. Yeah, here's a render that I told you guys about. You can see that they are floating above the surface. Here you can also see the example of having adjusted another area and it leaves some things untouched. And in this case, it was not good that it remained untouched. You can actually see that the characters are in line with where the ground used to be. So with that adjusted, and they're not stuck in the ground anymore, it looked like this. Here you can see they're standing on the ground again. Now thankfully this is quite a ways away, so even if they were a little bit off the ground, you wouldn't really notice it. So I'm just super thankful for that. Really, but this is cool. I like it. Now the reason we have these gaps over here that where the fields literally go into the ground is because I moved the fields down to be a little bit shorter. Because in, like I mentioned in a previous vlog, in the references I got, specifically hieroglyphics, I saw that the wheat that they grew was about just above knee height. So it was easy to harvest without being too tall. But I still think it was quite backbreaking work. Anyway, so what I did was to compensate for stuff like this and to prevent stuff like this more than we saw in the video, was I added detail to these blocks of the fields, which you can see now. Hold on. Here you go. You can see that it forms almost like a checkerboard or chessboard kind of thing. Now these are purely here so that we can adjust it according to the landscape because of dips like this over here. And you can also see that there is a dip on the other side of the fields. Let me just select something so I can turn it easier. You can also see that there's a dip on this side. So where the fields cut, if I saw correctly, was over here and over here. So primarily, we need to add detail to this one. I think adding 2 would be good enough. And what I now need to do is I need to go to said frame, which is 438. And now there's no issue. I just want to see if everything that will be seen in the render is actually turned on. Yes, it is. But you can see over here that there is still an issue. So what we need to do is we still need to fix it on this side. And the only way we're going to do that is by moving this area. Oh goodness, not like that. We have to turn snapping off. Just pull that slightly up. Yeah, now it's fine. We need to check 406 as well. Okay, now I'm happy with it. That is absolutely amazing. Okay, the only thing I didn't get to fix was this little one over here. Yeah, see, it's because of a lack of detail that it's behaving that way. So I definitely need to add some detail here, but I'm not going to bore you guys with that, so I'm going to time-lapse it. Okay, now if I tab out, that should be fine. Just give it some extra detail. So we can just pull these down a smidge. Something like that. And on the other side as well. Because we have a dip. Just move that down. Let's just pick some random frames. Just check that nothing is sticking through, and we are good. Okay. Cool. And that's it for this vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you find some information here useful. Have a great one, and God bless you.